is the last Thursday of August. Can you imagine that how fast this year has gone? It's just been ridiculous. And it's been 154 days since lockdown. Like, how ridiculous is that? And I'm just going to close my my web browser here so you don't have to listen to my pings happening. But anyway, 154 days since lockdown started. That is a lot of time. It's 3,700 hours. Like, what have you actually done with 3,700 hours? It's crazy. And these 3,700 hours have been a roller coaster ride for a lot of people. Emotions have been high, tensions have been high, businesses have been low, but it's been hectic, right? And what the problem have been for many people is that they've been facing burnout. And it's so interesting, as I was preparing for this session, the number of times I saw burnout coming up, and even some of my friends that were reaching out to me and saying like they're suffering from burnout. I was like, it's just ridiculous. It's so prevalent at the moment. And I think, a large reason why that is happening is because we are not creating time for ourselves. We're not carving out time to look after ourselves. And we can share as many productivity hacks as we like, but ultimately, if you're burnt out, productivity hacks are not going to help you get anywhere, right? It's not going to help you to get the most out of your time because actually you just have no capacity left at all. Hey V, thanks for joining. So last week we spoke about the 5 a.m. club, and we spoke about how you can use your time more wisely, and you had pretty surroundings and all of those sort of things to encourage you to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I hope you had tried to apply some of the concepts in your life during this past week. Remember, I challenged you to try and wake up at least 3 mornings at 5 a.m. And I don't actually know how many of you would have gone about and tried to do that, and just to try and see if you applied any of those practices using that 20-20-20 routine, what a difference it can actually make in your life. But you need to apply it for about 66 days to see a difference. So they normally say 21 days is good to get into a routine, but actually it's 21 times 3, and I know 21 times 3 is not 66, but 66 is the number of days that the 5 a.m. club talks about. But it's really about undoing all of those old habits and then starting to implement the new habit, and then finally it actually becomes a habit in the last round of 21 days. So I know that during winter especially, it's difficult to get up at 5 a.m. and if you're not doing it consistently, you actually end up being really tired. And if you had tried getting up at 5 a.m. for 3 days, especially if you try doing it for 3 days in a row, you might be suffering from complete exhaustion at this stage, and I can totally get that. And sometimes it's easier just to hit that snoozer button, right, and just lie in a little bit. But having a reason to get up in the mornings at the end of the day also helps. It helps us to be inspired and motivated and encouraged to face what the new challenges are that the day brings. But I know that sometimes, no matter how much we sleep, we are actually just not feeling rested, right? And no matter how much time we spend in bed and how much chocolate we eat and how many donuts we eat, we just stay feeling tired and drained and anxious and demotivated. And no amount of comfort eating, or not eating at all, because some people go to the other extreme, and trying to escape from your day-to-day life, it just doesn't get you to that point where you're feeling healthy and in charge of your life again. So I just thought I would define what burnout is, because sometimes people are a little bit confused. So I'm going to read it for you. It says, it's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion that's caused by excessive and prolonged stress. And it occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. And basically what this means is, if you are in a state of burnout, you are not able to operate effectively in either your business or in your personal life, which means that you just try and prevent life happening in general. And that's why people end up sleeping so much, especially if you're in a state of depression. People like to just sleep the day away, right? Because you don't actually have to get into that space of worrying about what is going on in your life. You can just escape from it altogether. But we need to find more healthy ways of dealing with it, non-addictive ways preferably, right? And one of the ways that we can do that is to make sure that we are scheduling time for ourselves, to look after ourselves, because at the end of the day, if we are plowing into other people all the time, we're plowing into our business all the time, but we're not getting any fulfillment in our own lives, we're not going to have anything left to give, right? So we need to make sure that we are fulfilling ourselves, okay? So it also doesn't help if you're scheduling in time to look after yourself, but you don't keep to it. You need to make sure that you're respecting your time, you're valuing yourself enough to get to the point where you are putting time aside to look after you. Hi Annette, thanks for joining. So just like any other appointment, I want to encourage you to guard your time religiously and make sure that you are keeping that commitment to yourself. The sooner we release commitments to ourselves and the easier we release commitments to ourselves, what does that say about our commitments to other people? You know, if you don't value yourself enough, as important enough to make sure that you are keeping those commitments, you can't really say that you keep commitments to other people as well. So I want to encourage you, guard your time viciously. So just a few reasons why we should make time for ourselves, okay? Because sometimes we need a little bit of encouragement as to why this is important. So firstly, it helps us to be refreshed and energized and actually be excited about what lies ahead in our day. It also helps us to think more clearly. Think about those days that you have had a solid, good sleep and you are just feeling ready for the day and you're able to think really clearly, you're able to make really good decisions, rational decisions, and it helps you to also build up your self-esteem over time, because if you think about it, every time you say yes to yourself, you are affirming the fact that you have value, and because of that, your self-esteem gets built up. And you realize that you are actually important, and because you feel that you are important and valued, you're able to communicate that to other people as well. And especially as a business owner, knowing your worth is so important to be able to get to that point so that you can charge your clients what you are worth, right? So as I said, you can only give out of an overflow of what you have already received. So make sure that you're filling up your tank often, okay? And I just want to say, I was Googling, right? And I was like, cool, what do we need to do in terms of me time and self-care and stuff like that? And one of the articles that came up was about stealing time for yourself. And I don't like that at all. That's terrible. Like, we're not robbing ourselves by not doing something else. In fact, by creating that space, we're able to plow in so much more wealth into the value of our lives. So please do not ever see it as the fact that you're stealing time away from something else. It's about carving out that time and saying, this time is important for me because it's going to grow me as an individual. Okay, so let's get practical. Let's think about a few ways that we can carve out, schedule in some time for ourselves. So last week, I already mentioned a few tips and tricks that you might want to follow just in terms of figuring out what you can do to look after yourself. But let's go into a little bit more detail. So this is not just about what I can physically do in terms of me time, but how do you get even to that point where you're able to schedule in time? So firstly, start with a nice little wish list of the things that you know fill you up, the things that excite you, that bring you joy, whether that is whether that's coloring in, or I don't know, sometimes we just have to go back to the things that we enjoyed as a child, right? And figure out what the adult version of that is at the moment. But think of that wish list. Think of the things that you want to be spending time on. And it doesn't just have to be your self-care time. It could be other stuff too. But compare that to how you are actually spending your time. And then you've now probably got a nice little gap between the two, right? So what you want to be doing versus what you are actually doing. And we need to think about how we're going to bridge that gap. So when you're thinking about these things that you are currently doing, think about, this side, what you're currently doing, right? Think about the tasks that you don't want to be doing, or that you maybe want to be doing less things of. Okay, so get people to be involved. Delegate, whether that is delegating to family members or employees if you've got them, or service providers, whatever the case might be. Get rid of those tasks that you don't want to be doing, and that is not a good use of your time. Okay, so think about that, whether it's in business or in your personal life, whether it's about getting someone that can help you clean your house, helping you tend to your garden, carpooling for your kids. Okay, you've got all sorts of options there. And then think about which of those tasks that you are busy with is actually fine if it's just good enough. You know, sometimes as perfectionists, we like having everything just so, and it has to fit into the mold. But honestly, if we think about it, there are things that's fine if it's just good enough for now. Okay, even if it's just for a season, maybe it's just good enough for now, and later you can pick it up again. And then think about what you can do less of. Is it things like watching less Netflix, spending less time on social media, maybe doing less frequent emails checks? Okay, so if we've seen as we're on the topic of emails, just go refer back to that one that we did at the beginning of this month that was all about email stacking. Okay, so go check that one out if you're still battling with your emails. Just putting it out there. Okay, and then you start scheduling in those non-negotiables. Think about the 7 to 8 hours of sleep that you need every day. Exercise, quiet time, journaling, meditating, spending time outside, being with your family. What are those things? Schedule them into your calendar and let everything else fit in around that. Okay. And then next up, we can make sure that we're making a to-do list. To-do list of 3 to 5 items. You don't need to do more than that because it's very unlikely if you have more than 3 to 5 items on your list that you'll actually be able to achieve it during the day, and then you'll just feel demotivated. I actually went through an exercise just 2 days ago because I was feeling so overwhelmed and there was so much stuff in my head and I just wanted to get it on paper. And I realized that there's too much that I'm trying to focus on any given day. And I'm sure I've said this before, we often overestimate how much we can do in the short term, but underestimate how much we can do in the long term. So just keep that in mind. 3 to 5 tasks, that's fine. And then you're winning, right? So think about that. And then Tim Ferriss actually suggests that instead of eating the frog first, choosing your hardest task first, what he suggests instead is to take one of your easiest mind-numbing tasks that is on your list and start with that, because that'll be something quick that you can tick off and you'll have this feeling of accomplishment just to start out the day, because that encourages you, energizes you, and keeps you going. And then thereafter, you tackle that frog. Okay, so there are a few options that you can look at there. Then you can start scheduling in some of your free time. So think about the stuff that now is on the wish list in terms of your self-care, the stuff that you enjoy doing. Think about that. How are you going to schedule that in? It could be your favorite Netflix show. It could be going for a walk on the beach. I've got a whole list here. So making time to read, having a hot bath or a hot shower, seeing as we're in drought, flying a kite, journaling, daydreaming, reading a great book, doing quiet time, listening to music and dancing along. So sometimes just having that actual body movement that goes along with the music helps us to just get out of our heads and into our bodies, and that helps us to be distracted. Having a candlelit meal with your spouse, having a hot bubble bath, and even connecting with what you love to do as a child, as I mentioned earlier. So all of these things are really going to help us to draw ourselves towards ourselves, right? But it is about how frequently you do it. It's not about doing it once a year for a long period of time. No, rather do it more often, but over shorter periods of time. Okay, so try to do that. And it really will make a massive difference to your overall well-being. So I want to know, would love to hear in the comments, what are you going to be doing in August to, as we see out these last few days, what are you going to do to look after you as you prepare for the last 3 months of the year? I can't believe it. We're heading into quarter 4. It's spring. It's just around the corner, which is great. But what are you going to do to close out August well and to look after yourself? Okay, so that is my session for today, but wanted to let you know this may or may not be the last time that you see me on Instagram. We're still deciding what will be the right approach, but in September, on whatever platform we will be doing it, you will be hearing all about productivity still, but we are going to be talking about some of those tools and the apps that we like to implement in our businesses, things that help us to save time. So whether it's Slack, Trello, Asana, Dropbox, Google Sheets, whatever. There's so many options, right? And I want to encourage you, if you have questions about any of these platforms, tools that you're like, I don't know what this even does, or should I use Slack, or should I use Microsoft Teams, or whatever, pop us some comments below and we will make sure that we address your questions during the month of September. Okay, so that is super exciting. I love technology and I think it's so important for us to make sure that we are checking in with the latest developments in technology. So do tune in for that next month and we will let you know in advance about what the topics will be about. So that's super cool. Okay, so I think that's it. I wanted to remind you, just lastly, we had our first application session for our training academy on Wednesday this week, which was fantastic. An opportunity to really be coached and talk through your challenges in terms of your finances. Next month, we are going to be covering costing in your business, because most of us don't know how to cost our products, our time, any of those things. So do make sure that you sign up. Remember, our prices are going up from the 1st of September. It's going to move to 300 Rand per month. So if you still want to access it at your subscription rate of 250 Rand per month for as long as you're subscribed, that's quite a tongue twister, subscribed, then make sure that you sign up before the end of August, and we will be popping the link in the comments below so you can sign up. And then lastly, go have a hot bath or a hot shower, go have a massage, go read a book. I don't know, just make sure that you are looking after yourself, and we will see you guys next week. Same time, maybe not same place, but we will still be talking productivity. So have a lovely day. Bye-bye.